Hello and welcome to day 6 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm showing you how to make a paper craft project that's Halloween and cricket themed every day for 20 days. Today's project is, you may have guessed it, this adorable little female gnome, and she perfectly matches the gnome from yesterday. They make a lovely pair. So this female gnome layered SVG is available to download for free for the next 24 hours only. If you've not already registered for the Halloween Craft Countdown, check out craftwithsarah.com/HCC. If you have already registered, here's how to get your free gnome SVG. If you've already registered your free ticket, check for an email from me with subject line Halloween Craft Countdown ticket information, or any of the other emails from me that you have been sent throughout the countdown. Can't find them? Check your junk or spam box to see if they've gone there by mistake. These emails contain the link to view the countdown projects and download today's files. Scroll down this page to find today's project. Click the button to start the files automatically downloading to your computer or mobile device. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files and projects from the Halloween Craft Countdown. All downloads come in zip folders. You will need to unzip them before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then go into Upload on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the files on your computer, or drag and drop them in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then within there, go into Cut Files. There are 3 different file types in here. For Cricut Design Space, you want the one which starts SVG in the file name. The other 2 won't work properly in Design Space, so make sure you choose that one which starts SVG. And I'm going to drag and drop mine in. It should look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you see the layers next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file type. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom and then try again and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. Press Upload, and then it will appear in your recent upload, so you can click on it to get that green border and then press Add to Canvas. Once it's loaded in, you can see all of the layers down the right side of the page. And if you click on Color Sync at the top, it shows it to you in all the different colors. This design does have a lot of similar colors, so if you need to, you can simplify it by dragging and dropping to change the colors on this screen. For example, maybe you only have 1 shade of orange instead of 2. So what you could do is get these lighter shades of orange here and click and drag them onto that darker one. And as I'm doing that, notice how it's changing the colors. So now when it cuts out, I'd only need 1 shade of orange cardstock instead of 2. However, I'm going to do it exactly as it comes. So let's just undo those changes. To resize the design, click on it and then make sure your padlock icon at the top is closed. If it's open, then click on it to close it. And then you can change either your width or your height. So let's go 7.75 inches tall. Press Enter on my keyboard, and then the width changed in proportion, so everything stays looking exactly as it should. When you're happy with how it's looking, press Make It over on the top right, and then Design Space will separate everything out into the individual colors. You can change the paper size over on the left. You do need to do this for every single color, so click through each one to change them. This one's a bit hard to see because it's on that black background, but you can drag and drop and rotate the shapes around to move them to take up less space on your cardstock. And this is a nice thing to do just to make sure that you can save as much of that leftover card as you possibly can for another project another day. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue and that will connect to your Cricut machine, and then get everything cut out from cardstock and I'll show you how to stick it all together. Here are my layers all cut out from cardstock, and I've just laid them one on top of the other to check that I'm happy with the colours and that I haven't missed anything. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to glue my little wart on the nose because I'm really worried I'm going to lose it. Just a dab of glue and I'll put that on there. Okay, that's made me worry a little bit less. Alright, so what we want to do, as with all layered designs, is start at the bottom and work our way upwards, and then we're going to stick our witch gnome together with glue and 3D foam pads. The glue I'm using is called Kalal. I really like it because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do. And I get this from Amazon in the UK, but if you're in the USA, then other great glue brands to use are Barely Art Glue or Art Glitter Glue. I put my glue into these needle tip applicator bottles, which have teeny tiny little nozzles on them, which means it's going to be super easy to get my glue everywhere it needs to go. For the foam squares, any will do. These are the ones I'm using and the brand is Dot and Dab. These ones are quite big, so what I do is just cut them smaller with a pair of scissors. So just cut them in half and they end up looking like this, so much smaller. And that just means, one, I don't need to use as many, and two, they fit into the gaps a little bit easier. Okay, so we need to move all of these layers apart so that we've just got the bottom two left. I'm going to try and keep them in their kind of little sets. So that's the top of the hat, and then the hair. I don't want that body layer here. Body can all come off together, and then the layers that make up the hat and that little pumpkin. So now I'm just left with the little yellow bit that goes on here, and this will be a glue layer. I'm going to turn it round, add a little bit of my glue, and then stick it down. And then the next layer is the orange one over here, and this will be another glue layer. Give it a little wiggle to make sure it perfectly lines up with that brown layer underneath. And then we can move on to the next layer, which is this one, which is making the top of the hat. And this one we'll use our foam squares for to give it a little bit of pop from that background. When you're adding the foam squares, you want to try and get some into any little sticky out bits, like these little bits at the bottom where the feet are, and also in the hat. But as well as that, you also want to put some in the middle of the design. And that's because if you just put your foam squares around the edge and didn't put any in the middle, then there's nothing in that middle section to keep the cardstock level with the edges where the foam pads are. So you'll probably find it will dome downwards like that in the middle, and it won't look as good. So adding an extra couple of foam pads in the middle stops that from happening, and it just gives you a much better, more level, more professional looking craft project when you're finished. So there we go, just a few bits in the middle, these ones here. And then I can peel the tops off of my foam to reveal the stickiness underneath. Bring our little witch back in. And then I'm going to line this up and then gently drop it down without putting any pressure on it. And that's because if I then decided I hadn't quite lined it up properly, I could pick this up and take it apart. And because the foam squares are just gently resting at the moment, it wouldn't do any damage and I could reposition it really easily. But I am happy with that, so I'm going to push down to get it all nice and stuck. The next layer we have is this one, which is going to make the stripy pattern in the hat. And this is a glue layer. This one just goes straight on top of that dark grey to make the nice stripes in the hat. There we go. And next I'm going to do the broom, which is these 3 layers here. The bottom layer is the solid one, and for this one we'll use our foam pads. Don't need many this time as it's quite a small piece, but it would help if I didn't get them all stuck to my fingers. Once again, I'm going to line it up, gently place it down, and then push down when I'm happy. The next layer is the detail for the broom, and this is a glue layer. And then finally, there's the little tie to go on the edge of the broom, and I think it'd be easier to put the glue directly on that bit. I just moved it a bit while the glue wasn't dry, and then stick this on there. Like that. We'll move on with some more of the witch now, and we've got these sections to go on the hat, which we'll add next, and the orange will be a glue layer. Bit of glue on there. And then it sort of lines up with the curve. So we're going to imagine that curve all along there, which will be covered up with a different layer. And then that just goes on there like that one. And then for the buckle, I will use some foam. But if you don't want to cut your foam that small, or if it's a bit fiddly, then you could glue it too. I've got a couple of little bits. I might need to cut this smaller, I'm not sure. Make sure your foam doesn't go over any of the edges, otherwise you'll see it when you turn it round and stick it on, which we don't want. I'm not sure which way round that's supposed to go. I think that's the wrong way. Oop. I recommend checking the assembly guide, which comes in your download folder, to see which way up, but I think that's right. I don't have an assembly guide yet because I'm working it out as we go along. Next, we have the body, and this comes in quite a few layers to give the effect of her legs as she sat on the broomstick. The first layer will be her body, which will go up here like this. And this is where I find out that I probably should have waited on that buckle. No, it'll be okay. I can just about... No, I'm going to take it off. Okay. Oh dear. Do you know what? That's the first time, I think, that I've ever made a mistake that I've actually had to take something off in a video. Oh dear, that's embarrassing. I'll add that back on in a bit. And I'll make a note on the video, on the bit where I was sticking that on a minute ago. I'll put some text on the screen that says, "Don't actually do this yet." Oh well. All right, the next one is making the stripes in the body, and this will be another glue layer. There we go. Okay. And now I can add that back on. And do that, because when I do the top of the hat... No, I think I'm going to leave it there. We shall see, we shall see. You might want to leave yours just in case I decide to change it again. Right, next is the body here, and I'm going to use foam for that. But I'm not going to put any foam in this little bit. under the bats, just on that inside wing, so that it will go on top of that buckle. Now I think I actually need to do the hands first, because they'll be covered up by the next layer of body. So let's just stick those in. Almost made another mistake. This is obviously my bad luck project for the Halloween craft countdown. Normally for every countdown I do, there is one project that just doesn't work out exactly as planned. Normally it is, or has been previously, a vinyl-based project. But this is the first year that I've done purely paper craft projects for the Halloween craft countdown, because I hate vinyl. I just don't like it at all. Most of what I like to make is paper craft. So that's why this year's Halloween craft countdown is entirely paper craft projects. The next layer is the detail for the legs, and this is a glue layer. Let's just whiz my glue around here. And then put that on top. Beautiful. And next we have the hair. And this comes in several pieces. We've got the bows, the detail layer, and then the solid layer. The solid layer is what we'll be doing first with some foam. Once again, line it up and gently drop it down. And push down when you're happy. And then next we've got the detail for the hair to show off her braids, and this will be a glue layer. Layers like this really let the needle tip applicator bottle do what it does best, because it's very narrow along these edges, but this just lets you go straight in really easily, quickly, and get the glue where it needs to go. Okay. Right, next are the bows, and the bigger layers, the bottom ones, if I can stop them getting stuck to my fingers, will be foam squared. I'm going to put the foam straight onto their hair. I think that'll be easier, as they're quite small. And if you need to, just cut your foam pads a little bit smaller with a pair of scissors so that you don't have anything overlapping. And then the detail will be glued on top. Is it that way round? No, that way round. So the little points go upwards. We're almost there now. We've just got the top of the hat and the nose to go. The hat I'm going to glue, because this is already so far out from the rest of the hat. I think if we were to use foam for this solid bit, it would just end up being too far and wouldn't look real. So I'm going to glue it. We've still got loads of dimension on it from all the other bits, so it will not matter that we're not putting anything else in there. And then the same for the detail layer. Just add some glue. Ooh, I really shouldn't be holding that over my project. That is my worst crafting habit, adding glue to things whilst dangling it over what I've just spent ages working on. What's your worst crafting habit? Let me know in the comments. And then the nose, just one little piece of foam on there. I've already glued on that wart, remember I did that at the start. Oh, that's not very straight. Try that again. There, our little witchy gnome And she has been a little witch to me. She's now all finished once that glue's dry. And there are loads and loads of layers in her. She looks lovely. And there we go, our next Halloween project finished. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make this adorable Halloween witch gnome. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Halloween craft projects. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 7 of the Halloween craft countdown. Thank you for watching. Bye!